Right, so officially welcome to the Zoom room. A big welcome to Elaine, your first time as a member. So hopefully first of many times that you'll be joining us. So we're just going to dive in again to our quote and related message today, and then after reading and discussing that, we'll go into a meditation. If you need to leave, Elaine, after half an hour, then feel free to do that. We should be finished. Should be a natural break for you to do that. We finished the teaching, so I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, can you both see that?
Yeah, could be a little bit bigger. Oh.
Yep. There we go. Is that big enough, or should I make it?
Yeah, it's just enough. Yeah.
Just reset it. Okay, so let's just go 175. There we go.
That's better.
Okay. Do you want to read the quote for us, Sally?
The world we see merely reflects our own internal frame of reference, the dominant ideas, wishes, and emotions in our minds. Projection makes perception, as in the text introduction, chapter 21. We look inside first, decide the kind of world we want to see, and then project that world outside, making it the truth as we see it. We make it true by our interpretations of what it is we are seeing. If we are using perception to justify our own mistakes, our anger, our impulses to attack, our lack of love, or whatever form it might take, we will see a world of evil, destruction, malice, envy, and despair. All this we must learn to forgive, not because we are being good and charitable, but because we are seeing what we are seeing is not true. And also kind of forgive ourselves for, having that, isn't it? Projecting it out.
Yeah, it's the whole thing. It's the delusion of making up a world from false beliefs and then believing in it. It's a game of make and believe. And then once we've made it, we believe in it. And this cycle of projection perception is what we must forgive or let go of our mental and emotional attachment to, not because we've been good and charitable, but because it's just not true. That's the essence of radical forgiveness. Any other kind of forgiveness, often, in maybe church circles and so on, there's the idea that you should be, forgiving. This is the Christian thing to do. But without a change in mind, fundamental radical change, like, oh, this isn't actually real, you can't really let it go. You can't really forgive it. You just feel like you're failing at forgiveness. I should be much more spiritual, but actually I've got all these rather unpleasant feelings about this person. And so we just feel guilty. And what we're talking about here is a fundamental change of mind, to really see the nature of reality and understand that what we're seeing is not true. Everything in form is not true. So your body, your sense perceptions, the world, none of it is true. And that's the basis for forgiveness. Because if it's not true, then why are you valuing it? Why are you judging it as real? And judging the world of evil, destruction, malice, envy, and despair as real, if it's not real. So it's the only true forgiveness. It's the only way of truly letting go. So today's quote tells us exactly what the world is: a projection of our own dominant ideas, desires, and emotions, and why we should forgive or let go of it. Not because we're so spiritual or enlightened, which can be just another false self-concept, can't it? Causes more false projection. Oh, I'm the spiritual one. And now you've got another identity going on. And then people give themselves names and they call themselves a different name to denote, their new spiritual identity. But the whole point is to let go of all separate identity, all self-concepts. And as we just said, because nothing that you perceive outside of you is real. So it's a complete deconstruction of this false projection perception mechanism of the ego. So to judge it as real by reacting to it emotionally is to make the mistake of reinforcing the seeming reality of this world and make the false separated self-concept, which is the ego that made it up, real. Mistake of reinforcing that false self-concept. So that's what judgment does. It's very important to understand. Whenever you judge something and you have a mental and emotional reaction to it, you've made it real in your mind, haven't you? And so then that's what reinforces the reality of the world and the reality of the self-concept that made the world up. The two go hand in hand. So Yeshua's saying the only way out is to stop judging it as real. And that's what forgiveness is. So the letting go of your mental and emotional attachment to the thoughts and emotions that make everything real for you, your sense perceptions real. Because it's not the sense perceptions themselves, it's your interpretation of the sense perceptions, isn't it? That's the problem. Do you see that? So in truth, we cannot judge anyone or anything because what we're judging isn't really there. You're judging a hallucination, a dream, a dream figure. If you're judging a person, it's a dream figure in a dream world. Seemingly real, that's the illusion, but not. A false character, a ghost. Think of people wandering around here. If they're in the ego, they're just ghosts, just lost in a dream world. Don't have any idea who they really are. They think they're bodies, think they're human, trying to satisfy temporary desires and avoid pain and seek pleasure. But actually they're just asleep. So we can't really judge anyone or anything because they're not really there. What you're judging is an illusion. So any seeming results of our judgment must also be false. See, it all follows. If it's false, then none of your judgments can be true, and none of the effects of your judgment can be true either. So this is how you undo karma, the idea of cause and effect. Karma just means cause and effect. So it's undoing cause and effect because you're giving no cause to the illusion, and so then there are no effects, and you deny the cause and you deny the effect, and then what's left is pure formless awareness of perfect love, which lies beyond all of that. So Yeshua tells us very explicitly in this passage why we must relinquish judgment. So maybe let's ask Elaine. Elaine, can you read that? Is it big enough on your phone? I'll make it a little bit bigger for you. There we go.
Okay.
Is that bigger?
Yeah. Okay. It is necessary for the teacher of perfect love to realize not that he should not judge, but that he cannot. In giving up judgment, he is merely giving up what he did not have. He gives up on illusions, or better, he has an illusion of giving up. He has actually merely become more honest, recognizing that judgment was always impossible for him. He no longer attempted it. This is no sacrifice. On the contrary, he puts himself in a position where judgment through him, rather than by him, can occur. And this judgment is neither good nor bad. It is only judgment. There is, and it only one.
There's only one.
Perfect love. Extension, innocent, and sin does not exist.
So those italicized ones in different gray, and then I put love as a red. That's a translation of the original, just so you know. So it's adapted from. So the original would be God's Son is innocent. God's Son is sinless, and sin does not exist. And we just changed it to perfect love's extension is innocent, and sin does not exist. And so that's a very simple truth that he's trying to teach us over and over. You know, none of this is true. None of this is real. Sin doesn't exist because there is nothing else besides God's love. Everything else is a delusion. So the only true judgment is that everyone is completely innocent because nothing they seem to say or do has really happened. It's happened in an illusion, a dream, and therefore has no effect on their or your true reality, which is eternally unchangeable and therefore invulnerable to whatever you may think has happened. Yeah. Well, that's a very simple premise of this course. And we study and we practice and we do the mind training because to accept that is the undoing of our world, the undoing of our separate self in our world. And that's why it's hard. But it remains the consistent truth that he's teaching over and over and over again in every lesson, every section of the text. This truth is being taught to us. So if you can accept this fundamental premise of Yeshua's teachings, then everything you perceive in the seemingly external universe must logically be false. So you can't see any of it as true anymore. Therefore, your ability to forgive or let go ultimately depends on faith. Will you accept the fundamental premise or deny it? And it's a premise. It's a belief, which you can find evidence for if you believe it, but you can also find evidence against it. Depends on what you want, on what you choose to believe. So it comes down to faith. What do I choose to believe? Do I believe this teaching that the world's an illusion, none of this is true, none of this is real? Or do I prefer to believe my ego's interpretation of it, that it is real? And that's a choice which comes down to faith in the end. What do you choose to believe in? Because you can see evidence for both in this world. So the world is a projection of our beliefs. If we believe in what's false, then we will make it real, and we'll be trapped in that cycle. So stated another way, will you let go of your mental and emotional attachments to the people, things, events, circumstances that seem to exist in this world? Which means you must have accepted the premise that they are not true. And that's how you truly let go of them. If they're not true, then how can you really give them any thought and feeling? They become meaningless to you. Nothing I see means anything. Lesson number 1. Or the other choice is to allow the ego's reactive thoughts and emotions that cover over or negate the truth, that only pure formless awareness of perfect love is real, to dominate your mind and drown out the Holy Spirit's voice, which reminds you of the truth. So it's as we discussed yesterday, there's two choices, two voices, two choices. You must choose between them, and they are completely contradictory. You can't choose both at the same time because they are opposite and they go in different directions, and they tell you different things about yourself, about the nature of reality, about every decision that you make is going to be influenced by whether you believe in the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, or the ego, because they are operating systems, as we discussed yesterday. It's an operating system for your mind. And so Yeshua was asking us to choose a different operating system, which then gives rise to a lot more peace, because within the Holy Spirit's operating system, there is no judgment. There's just a deep letting go and the underlying peace of God that passes all understanding, as it's been called, naturally arises. So you can't have peace unless you let go, and you can't let go until you realize that it's not real. Now, in practice, the process of experiencing that peace is a process of letting go. You don't quite believe it, but you go, okay, I'll let this go. And the more you let go, the more you believe the truth that none of it's real. The more you believe the truth that none of it's real, the more you can let go, and the more peace you experience. And and that's how it goes. It's an iterative process, because he knows you don't fully accept this truth that none of it's real. That's why we need to practice. So we practice at it, training our minds in various situations that crop up to let go. And then more and more we start realizing the truth that none of them are real. And then we start to be able to generalize that truth and apply it to all situations, which helps us to let go more. And the more we let go, the more it reinforces the belief. So you see that letting go is reinforcing the truth in your mind. It's the process of training your mind to accept this truth that actually none of this is real, and there's a transcendent reality called pure formless awareness of perfect love that you can experience. It's totally beyond this. So forgiveness is the mind training that you need to do to learn this, to learn the truth that you really are one with your source, one with this pure formless awareness of perfect love. It's the mechanism of undoing the illusion that's consuming your mind. Okay, so any questions on that so far, Elaine? So it kind of makes sense?
It does, yes. No, it's very well explained.
So whenever you read and reflect on one of Yesha's mind training lessons from the workbook, and you use it to help you to let go of negative thoughts and emotions, such as anger, attack thoughts, what the quote calls lack of love in whatever form it may take. You accept the premise that none of these thoughts and emotions are real, neither the people, things, events, and circumstances that seem to justify them. None of that's what you're accepting when you let it go. Do you see that? The two go hand in hand.
It's difficult. It's a difficult thing to put into practice when you're still in the ego mind.
Yeah,
Very
and so that's why we practice. And he's giving us the lesson,
of course.
saying, okay, so apply this lesson to whatever your experiences are today, because this is how you practice believing. It's practice in belief. Eventually, the belief starts to become knowledge. You accept it as true. You don't have to practice anymore. You know that it's true. And that's when the shift happens from perception to knowledge. When you just know that this is true, and the need for practice is over. But while we inform and the solution, practice is necessary. And he's directing this course for people who need to practice. If you didn't need to practice, you wouldn't need a Course in Miracles. So he's meeting us where we are and saying, okay, slowly, progressively, systematically, through this process, I'm going to help you to train your mind to believe in what's true and deny what's false. And that practice is called forgiveness, or letting go. And that's what the entire course is directed towards. And then he says, ultimately revelation will come. That's this merging into this transcendent awareness. But God takes the final step. So this isn't something that is the goal of the curriculum. As he said yesterday, I can't teach you the meaning of love because that's beyond what can be taught. So love will come when you're ready. But in the meantime, he can teach you how to remove the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which block that awareness and must be removed for you to be aware of it. So that's the focus of this course and the curriculum is, can you become aware of these blocks and then let them go, so they're no longer blocks. And the more you do that, the more this deep peace, pure formless awareness, we call it, of perfect love, just arises naturally in your mind, because it is your natural inheritance, as as he says. So I'm just going to go to the introduction again, which we covered yesterday, but clarification of terms, we want that. We want the text introduction. So what he's saying here is really a summary of what I've just said. So this is a required course. The truth is true. You can't establish the curriculum of truth. Free will does not mean that you can establish this curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. So you can choose when you want to learn this. And then he puts this into proper perspective. He says, this is the scope of this course. Course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love. That is beyond what can be taught. So it's not a course in teaching you love, but it's a course at removing the blocks to awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. So if you remove the blocks, then naturally this love will arise because it's what you really are. So he doesn't have to teach you to be what you really are. That's given by God, your source. But he has to teach you how to remove the blocks to that awareness. So it's a removing, a cutting away, rather than an adding to that we're doing here. And he says at some point, of course, this course requires that you question every value that you've ever hold, and every value that you've ever held. So every belief, every value, every thought must be questioned and removed, undone in your belief, to open you to the to reveal the true self to you. So just like the Michelangelo carving the David statue, it's chipping away at all of those things that are not you to reveal what was already there. It was just covered over, and that's what this process is all about. And then he says the opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. So apparently there's an opposite to love in this world. That's our delusion. But what we need to realize is that what is all-encompassing, love, which is eternal and infinite and everywhere, actually has no opposite. So the opposite then must be an illusion, and you collapse duality that way. You stop believing in something else that counters love, which you can call fear, or any other name you want to call it: guilt, sin, fear, the ego, devil, Satan. But there's some opposition to your true nature, which we can call pure formless awareness of perfect love, or God, true reality, heaven, the ground of being. There's many names for that as well. So this course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way: nothing real can be threatened, and nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Nothing real can be threatened, because it's beyond threat. There's no opposite to it. So how can there be threat to something which has no opposite? You see, duality and opposition are required in order to create the illusion of threat, aren't they? You have to have something other than what's being threatened, that's threatening it. It requires duality. So in truth, nothing real can be threatened, and in truth, nothing unreal really exists. The two go hand in hand. Nothing real can be threatened because nothing unreal exists. Nothing unreal can come in to threaten the truth. And herein lies the peace of God. So it's a collapsing of duality in your mind, and a restoration of your mind into the one mind, the one self, oneness, which knows no duality. So unfortunately, in our society, it's all too easy to lose ourselves in trying to satisfy our desires and the body's apparent needs, and to be mesmerized by the world of form that, as Einstein said, is an optical delusion of consciousness. I've quoted this before, but it's a great quote. And if you look at that picture of some shopping mall over Christmas, it's like a gilded prison, isn't it? It's even got the bars there. We just don't see it. Everyone doesn't know what's actually going on. I chose it because actually I've used it before, but I'm seeing it again in this different way. You got literally like a prison, but it doesn't seem to be a prison. Everyone's like, oh no, but I can go shopping and I can buy stuff and this is cool, but actually it's just another prison that the ego's invented for us. And as Einstein says, maybe you want to read that. So a human being is a part.
A human being is a part of the whole called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feeling as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to encompass all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. Oh, that was a funny feeling reading that.
Yeah.
I could see it, I could feel it, I was there. Oh yeah, it's a prison. Oh yeah, okay, see it clearly now. Yeah, that was really cool. Something about reading it out loud, isn't it? It really does change.
It seems to, yeah. I think it's maybe because by reading it out loud, you're engaging another sense, the auditory as well. So you're hearing it. So it becomes more real, more impactful in the mind, registers it on another level. If you say it rather than just think it, it's manifested in some way in this world. So
I also think when you say it when there's other people witnessing it, makes a big difference.
Yeah, it's like a state. It's a more powerful statement of belief. Remember, everything you say is an affirmation of your belief. So you say it out loud. You're saying, "Okay, I believe this. Otherwise, I wouldn't be reading it." You know, if someone was really egoic, they wouldn't read this. They'd go, "What? No. Just like, sorry, I can't do this," and they wouldn't be here to start with. But I've seen it before. If something runs counter to someone's belief, then they abandon it. They can't do it because the internal conflict is too much just to read something like this.
It felt like, it felt like as I was reading it, that I was kind of letting it go at the same time. You know, it really was like real clarity there for that moment. So I was reading it, I could really see the truth in it. I love that when that happens.
Yeah, well, that's a little moment of insight, where you're getting access to, you know, the other transcendent domain, and seeing the two go hand in hand. As you see the illusion clearly, then the truth reveals itself.
Is that what they call the light moments? You know, they say in the book, light, you get light moments. Is that the same idea? Yes.
Yeah, light is really just awareness. So when you have a kind of an aha moment, some expanded awareness.
So it's all similar, yeah.
So whatever you want to call that. It's called satori in the Japanese tradition. It's like I just got
it's a realization.
Yeah. It's like something just shifted, you know, and that's a miracle. That's a correction in your perception. It's a miracle. It's an insight. It's a satori moment. It's an aha moment. Whatever you want to call it. But we know when we've had one that it's significant. So something is just shifted. And so the more you practice this, the more those moments happen. Every moment is a little correction. It's like you just do undoing another little part of the ego, maybe sometimes quite a large part of the ego, depending on what the realization is. But you're just kind of chipping away. If you think of the ego as a big block of stone, of granite, and it seems to be impossible to destroy that. But the way you do it is just chip away. Let's say you just have a hammer and a chisel. You just chip away, and you just keep hammering. And sooner or later, if you keep doing that, the cracks will appear. And once you got a little crack, you can just keep hammering into that crack, and it'll get wider. And with a lot of patience and thousands of blows, you will eventually crack that whole stone open, and it will disintegrate into smaller
reveal the
two, and then you could carry on. And so that's kind of quite a good analogy. That's what we're doing here, just chipping away. And there is repetition. I've used this quote before, but it's like every time you read it, it's another affirmation of the truth. So I include this stuff and just reformulate it sometimes, put it with a different picture. Like, I haven't used this picture before with this quote. And then you go, actually, there's the prism there. You can just see that. They're actually, because they're the bars on the top, isn't there? I was like, well, that's quite symbolic. But of course, no one's looking there, so they don't know they're in a prism. And what's attracting them in the windows of the shops is like, oh, this is good. This is attractive. This is what I want. But that desire is a prism. It keeps them always seeking outside of themselves for some kind of satisfaction. And that desire is the foundation of suffering, as the Buddha noticed 2,500 years ago. He said desire, or craving as he called it, is the source of all suffering. Because your desire for something other than your own awareness, something outside of you, keeps the separate self alive, and that keeps you suffering because you're always seeking your true self and never finding it. And we know, none of this material stuff really satisfies us. We buy stuff. Christmas has come and gone. Do you remember even what you got? Not really. Week or two afterwards, it's all gone. Life goes on.
True.
The best thing about Christmas is it's a rest time, and you can spend time with family and friends, and there can be a genuine connection and love there. But all the material stuff is really just a distortion of the true meaning of Christmas. Okay, so any other thoughts on the quote?
What it reminds me of is like, I think I've said it before, but it's just coming to me again and again. It's like when you adjust in an aeroplane, the GPS, what do you call it? The direction finder thing, where you adjust it like a half a degree and you end up in a different place. It just feels like what just happened to me just then was like my GPS adjusted.
Yeah.
Good.
And that's exactly what we're doing. It's like, okay, you're slightly off track, and then you adjust, and you get, the more you practice, the more it's like you're giving the Holy Spirit the chance to just do those corrections. And in today's insert, he talks about the miracle as a correction. So the miracle is it's a course correction, literally. You're correcting your course, adjusting, and getting back on course whenever you have a miracle. So it's an internal shift as well as being an external. Often, it mirrors. One mirrors the other. So I'll show you the integral model maybe just now. Let's just finish this. So this optical delusion causes us to forget who we really are. An eternally free, happy self, or what Yeshua calls Christ in A Course in Miracles. And the transcendent reality it lives in and by. So you live in and by that. This is eternal life. Yeshua calls it heaven, God. We call pure formless awareness of perfect love. So it's a domain of consciousness, of awareness, really. Let's be clear about our terminology, because consciousness is correctly identified as a domain of the ego, according to Yeshua. So we don't use the word consciousness. It's awareness. It's a part of your awareness, which is the fundamental awareness that cannot be undone. You cannot go beyond this awareness. There's nowhere else to go, right? It's the ending point. Once you're in that awareness, that's it. Your dream is over, and you remain in that awareness. There's no higher place to go. It's the end of all dreams, the end of the illusion, the end of the road of the hero's journey. And what takes us further and further on that journey is these miracles, which is why he's called it A Course in Miracles. I'm just going to open this, and that these can show up in both the interior domain. So in this model, it shows you clearly. You've got the individual and collective on the one axis, interior and exterior on the other axis, and where they intersect, you get a domain of consciousness, domain of awareness. So the individual interior is the intentional domain. This is all about our beliefs, our values, our motivations. It's the inner world, thoughts and emotions. So we have a shift there, correction there, and then on the behavioral level and the level of performance outcomes and things showing up in the world, often then things change as well. So we do a course correction, and then so we get confirmation of that. Something happens to confirm that our insight is true, which then confirms this reality to us. See? So in the same way, the ego uses this mechanism, projects out its false beliefs, then says these beliefs are real, perceives them as real, which feeds back into the internal domain and says that this is real, and therefore this thought system is real. The Holy Spirit uses that to free us. It says, well, you can actually use this cycle to free yourself instead of enslave yourself. So you change your mind, you correct your perception. That's where the miracle starts. Never starts on the external. It's about an internal shift or correction. And then you might get something showing up. in your dream world to show you that that is true, that insight is true. And that would be then the external aspect of the miracle, which is generated by the internal shift, the correction. And that then is necessary to confirm to you that this new shift, this new belief is correct and that it's real and that actually you can have faith in this. And so that's why the miracles are useful on the level of form, for things to show up in the dream. If nothing ever changed and we're changing our mind, we'd go, well, it's of no effect. So nothing's ever changing, why bother? But when we see the changes confirmed in our perception of the external world, then we start to build our faith, don't we? It grows our faith. We go, oh, actually, that worked. So maybe it works not just in this instance, but maybe it works always. And so it's about generalizing that lesson, saying, well, if I always apply these principles, then I can always get a miracle. I don't know exactly how it's going to look on the level of form, but I'm living then in the domain of the miraculous. And I'm not making exceptions, because the ego is always trying to get you to make exceptions and say, no, in this instance, there's no miracle, because actually, reason's got to take over and I've got to sort this out. And Yeshua's is saying, no, you can give everything to the Holy Spirit and trust, and it can sort out any problems you have on the level of form. There's nothing it cannot do if you're willing to allow it to. But it comes down to your willingness to let go or surrender. So again, letting go means that you step out the way. Your ego is attached to this quadrant and this one, the collective and the individual exterior, and is influenced by it, is essentially at the effect of that. So we live in a society where we have this consumer-oriented society, capitalism, lots of things to buy. We're told we need to earn money to buy all this stuff, and so if you haven't got a clear connection with spirit, then that system really influences your mindset and will cause you to believe in a false set of values, which now society has told you are real and true. And that that's how the ego perpetuates itself. And so most people are hopelessly enslaved to the external world. They believe what society tells them to believe, rather than coming to their own conclusions and the inner world. It was quite interesting with COVID, because you saw that people were more spiritually awake, just didn't buy it. They didn't buy the story, and those who weren't so awake, not on any kind of path of spiritual awakening, just seem to all go, yeah, okay, well, we'll accept that, and we'll do what you tell us to, which is fascinating. So you see very clearly how it profoundly affects your decisions, your actions, your life. So this integral model is useful to understand the internal and the external aspects of the miracle. Okay, so any questions about that? Otherwise, I think we're kind of done with our little teaching. So Elaine, if you have to go, we're going to go into a meditation now.
Right. Well, I think he's just taking the dogs out, so I've got about 10 minutes.
Right.
I can just sort of go.
Yeah, you can leave in the meditation. Do about a 20-minute med. So yeah, just making yourself comfortable. Putting yourself on mute. Into your favorite meditation posture. So sitting with your feet shoulder width apart, your back straight. Cup your hands in your lap, close your eyes. And start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. And the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. And clench the sphincter muscle. That's the muscle used to contract the flow of urine or squeeze the last drops out. That locks the energy in. And just feel this warm wave of energy is rising up the spine. You feel a tingling sensation flowing up the spine into your heart center. Just putting one hand on your heart to connect with your heart space. And then drawing it all the way up into the crown of your head. That's a maximal inhale breath. Just inviting some openness, light, spacious awareness into your mind. Now you're going to just scan your mind and look for any thoughts, emotions that are negative in any way, limiting, contracted. Today's lesson is all about fear. So if you're feeling unsafe, fearful, anxious, any of those kinds of thoughts, notice them, notice the emotions, notice how that feels in your body. So maybe a knot in your stomach, breathe into that, then it helps. You can imagine that you're breathing light in, a higher awareness of light. Flowing into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being is infused with this light energy, true awareness, in which no fear, no darkness can actually exist. So say to yourself, I can attack only my own sinlessness or innocence. And there's only this which keeps me safe. I'm only safe in my eternal innocence. So just exhale. Just blowing it all away with the breeze of your breath. Just letting go. Of all the negativity, the breeze of your breath blowing it away like a dark cloud or black smoke. So maximal exhale breath, pull the lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. And you just rest here in peace and stillness. A few moments. Keep watching your breath to keep your mind nice and empty, open, like an empty vessel, just waiting to receive these profound words, which I'm going to read to you. It's a short commentary on the lesson. Let them just permeate into your awareness, like water just seeping through the bedrock into caves below. Cave is your subconscious mind, just seeping in there to really rewire that, create these beautiful patterns like stalactites and stalagmites in caves. Beautiful beliefs that are helpful and supportive. So keep watching your breath in and out through the nose. Observe the subtle sensations of the breath. Observe the touch of the breath on the area just below your nose, between your nose and your upper lip. As you listen to these words. So Yeshua says, Father, or my source, your extension is wholly aware. So this is a prayer to this source in your own mind. So your son is holy, or your extension is wholly aware. I am he on whom you smile. So you smile in love and tenderness, so dear, deep and still on me that extension smiles back on you and shares your whole awareness. So breathe this whole awareness in. Smile. It's an inner smile. And you feel this joy rising up for no reason at all. And that you are aware. You have this awareness, and that's the reason for joy and peace. So how pure, how safe, how holy, then are we. Abiding in your smile. Feel like this pure formless awareness of perfect love is smiling on you. Breathe it into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind. So we abide in this smile with all your love bestowed on us. Living one with you in brotherhood and fatherhood complete. So in companionship and sourcehood complete. We are one with our source, and we are one with all of our companions and our extensions of that source. In innocence, so perfect. That the Lord of innocence, the Lord of sinlessness, or the Master of innocence, Master of innocence conceives us as his son or its extension, a universe of thought, completing him or itself. So have a sense of this innocence. Completing you, just sinking inwards to the breath. Let that point you into a deep, contemplative silence. Say to yourself, I do not attack my innocence, for it contains the message of perfect love or the word of God to me. And its kind reflection, we are saved. Its kind reflection, I am free. Say it in the first person. Make it more practical, more impactful. So just surrender into the silence, this freedom, inner freedom. This lesson points to. Lessons just there, so you help you to let go of whatever blocks to the awareness of love's presence on. Allow yourself to surrender to it completely. Step back, watch your breath flowing in and out through the nostrils. And be in the still, calm, innocent, holy place, holy aware place for a couple of minutes of deep silence. And if any thoughts come in to seemingly disturb your peace, thoughts about the past or the future, any anxiety about the future, any grievances about the past, just observe them casually. Remind yourself that when these are real, they're just cloud patterns, and you can just let them go, just blow them away. Just blow them away with some breeze of your breath. Blow them away with the breeze of your breath into the nothingness that they really are. It's going, gone. Remind yourself that I can attack only my own innocence. There's only this innocence which keeps me safe. Stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. And just rest. In this stillness, innocence, quiet, silence. It's all just pointers to the same thing. We call it innocence or stillness, silence or God or pure formless awareness of perfect love. So just surrender into this deep stillness for another minute or so of silence. Just lose yourself in this timeless, eternal innocence. So just gently coming back in this deep state. It's an awareness of the body and the breath and the senses and the world. And on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in again, become aware of your breathing. Perhaps for a couple of minutes there, you just slipped off, lost all sense of body senses, sensations, and just went into deep awareness, true awareness, pure formless awareness. So still retain that awareness even while you come back into sense perceptions. Nothing's really changed. That awareness is still there. You're just now aware of the body, but in a very present way without interpretation and judgment. Sense perceptions really can't obscure this true awareness. So breathing in, pinch the sphincter muscle. Notice how the energy flows up the spine into your heart center, on up into the crown of your head. Pause at the top of the inhale. Once again, scan your mind. Notice any thoughts, emotions, particularly anything fearful going on, and let it go. So the help of your breath. Today's lesson as well. So I can attack only my own innocence. It is only that which keeps me safe. You just blow away any of these thoughts, which are all attacks on your own innocence. It's all self-attack. It makes no sense at all. You blow it all away to the nothingness that it really is. So notice how the air flows out of your mouth, chest and the stomach suck back in. And just the weight of your body, count of 2 touching chair, wherever you're sitting. Notice what you're feeling with your hands. Maybe there's a subtle flow of air on your skin. Notice that. Breathing in. Notice any smell in your nose. Maybe there's a taste in your mouth. And notice what you're hearing in the surrounding environment. Just noticing all these things from this very still, calm, and surrendered state. There's no interpretation, no judgment, then sense perceptions really can't bother you at all. So just connect with this underlying awareness. And now, count of 3, open your eyes. And from this awareness, look out on the world. So your visual sense is the most dominant. So we're going to just practice a little mind training exercise for a minute. Look at various objects in the world, focus on one for a few seconds, and notice that this deeper awareness is still there. If you're not naming that object, you don't bring its name to mind, don't interpret it in any way, there's no story about it. You're still aware of this awareness. And then you look at another object and you apply the same technique to it, then you notice that it's really the same awareness. So you're training your mind that there really is only this fundamental awareness and nothing else really exists. And this is always there. It underlies all sense perceptions. The judgments that you make about your sense perceptions are false, because what you're seeing is false. What you're seeing isn't really there. So they are by definition false. And only this fundamental awareness, which hopefully you accessed quite deeply over the last 22 minutes, is true. And the more you meditate and practice these ideas, the more that truth becomes known to you, experientially known, rather than just an intellectual understanding. And that's where transformation happens, because you start to live from that deeper awareness, and that profoundly affects your thoughts, your words, your actions, and everything that unfolds for you in the dream. And that's what Yeshua calls a happy dream. So that brings us to the end of the meditation and our power hour. So we'll carry on. Sally, if you want to carry on with just reading the lesson and the insert today. Elaine, if you have to leave us, then
I think I seem to have lost my husband. We're
Really?
supposed to be on our way. Oh,
okay. Well,
Hi,
if you want to
Elaine.
continue, you're most welcome.
I'm just waiting for him. He seems to have disappeared. Yeah. I think we're going to
Okay.
be late for his appointment because it's the memory clinic.
Right.
Oh, well.
Perhaps he's forgotten then.
He's forgotten his appointment at the memory clinic. Yeah. That's how it goes, isn't it?
That's such an old line, that one, isn't it?
So, well, this is meant to be.
Mm.
I'd
Yeah.
rather be here
Well,
than the
then,
memory clinic.
carry on, yeah.
Yeah.
And Jackie's joined us. How are you, Jackie?
Hi, Jackie.
There for a bit of the meditation as well, so that was good.
Yeah. So yeah, generally we do a bit of a sharing now. Anyone got anything to share, anything to express? This is the time to do it. If you would like me to stop the recording, I will. If it's anything of a personal nature, if it's general principles, then it's always useful for people to hear.
Half of me wants to say, can you stop the recording? Even though I don't mind sharing my stuff.
Yeah, I think it is good actually when you stop it because it allows the flow.
Okay.
You always put it back on, but
yeah, just the YouTube I have to restart. It's another, it splits it into YouTube, two YouTube recordings. But that's okay. Would you like me to stop it? Let's just stop the recording. Stop recording. And let's stop the share. I should be able to stop YouTube.